Hi, you might know me as the anonymous girlfriend producer. I would like to welcome you to the Larry Klayman Horror Tour. Please sign this 86-page document, buckle up, and we'll be on our way shortly.
I've seen it all, Larry.
Yeah.
Not as much as you.
Yeah.
I want to welcome everybody to LK for Everyone. Go to our Twitter feed at LK, the number 4, every, the number 1. That's LK, the number 4, every, the number 1. Like us, follow us. Also, I want to thank immediately our host site, American Greatness. That's amgreatness.com. And, of course, our great lawyer extraordinaire du jour, Larry Klayman.
Soup du jour.
Our soup du jour, and our ombudsman, our honest ombudsman, Louis Fine. And tonight's show, we decided we're going to do the Horror Tour, which is
WHOR.
WHOR.
E,
which is, that was your book, was Whores.
Yeah.
And Louis, and I'm not sure which one of us came up with the idea, but let's say we both came up with the idea, Louis.
This could be a multi-city phenomenon.
It's a multi-city.
It starts in Washington, D.C. with Larry.
With Larry, and it's going to be not an actual, it's about, tell us a little bit about Whores so people know.
Well, Whores is my autobiography. And
Yes.
I'm not talking about the women that,
Congratulations.
that go up and down Las Vegas Boulevard.
Yes.
Okay, I'm talking about politicians, media, and judges and lawyers who have corrupted the swamp. And it goes way back. I wrote it after my Senate campaign in 2004. It was published ultimately in 2009, as a matter of fact. And it was very controversial. First, HarperCollins was the publisher, but it was too hot for them to handle, so I found another publisher in the end. But it's talking about my experience, you know, and why I do what I do and what I experienced when I ran Judicial Watch. And now I'm writing a new book.
Whores 2?
Whores are back.
So wait.
And actually, it's a different title, but I'm kind of
A quick
being funny about
question.
that.
How much worse can you make a swamp? The whores have polluted the swamp.
The Whores of the Dead.
Right.
You know, it's like
Like horror thing instead of swamp thing.
It's The Walking Dead.
And while some of us here live in Los Angeles, we're filming tonight from Bahrain.
Right.
And
In the one whorehouse in Bahrain.
Bahrain. And Larry, we're not sure where he is, but in Los Angeles we have all these star tours. You know, you have which I never understand why people do that. They get on these like double-decker vans, double-decker buses.
River Phoenix overdosed.
Oh, that's the death tour. There's like there's the where people died tour. There's the so and so famous tour. There's so this is the horror tour hosted by Larry Klayman. Is the bus tour will start in Washington D.C. of your horrific experience with the horrors of Washington. And obviously we're not talking about, in Washington, the proverbial horrors are probably a lot more trustworthy than the swamp that exists.
Well, that's what Ronald Reagan used to say. Is the oldest profession, the second oldest profession gives the oldest profession a bad name.
Yes.
The second oldest is politicians.
That's
And it was Mark Twain who said the same thing. He says, the difference between lawyers and prostitutes is you actually get a valuable service with the prostitutes.
Okay, we're outside the Lincoln Memorial. We're on the bus, and there's a closed, shuttered orange Julius. Tell us about the whores at the Lincoln Memorial, or on the mall, or in the
the
reflecting
whores.
pool.
Historically, the whores in Washington D.C. during my time were on 14th Street, and they would go up and down. And
so we're starting the tour on 14th Street.
14th Street. Now they've cleaned it up a lot, but actually the beginning of my book, Whores, and you can still get it at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. A little advertisement. I've never made any money off the book, so it makes no difference. Just get it to read it. It has 4.5 stars, by the way. Came in second at International Book Fair.
The two people that reviewed it were never heard from again. Just for the
Right.
record.
Larry K. and
My mother and my sister.
K. Period.
my mother,
Larry.
My mother and my sister. Anyway, so it starts off in the prologue. The police in Washington, D.C. wanted to get rid of the whores, the actual whores.
Right.
So they herded them across the 14th Street Bridge into Virginia, so it would be Virginia's problem. but they turned right around and sauntered back into D.C. So that's metaphoric. You can't get rid of the whores. They will always come back.
Okay. So take us on the tour. I want to know. So
we're going through the district.
We're going through the district. So for instance, people are coming to Los Angeles and they're coming on the star tours. They want to know where the stars live. They want to know where the stars died. I want you to take us on a tour of of where so and so might have died, where so and so might have had an affair.
We're
on the George Washington Memorial Parkway.
You've got to start with Miss Hillary's home. I mean, you've got to do it.
Okay, so let's start.
I think this would be a good time to give out the
because
address.
she's the biggest political whore. She's a high-priced whore. Yeah. Making hundreds of millions of dollars selling influence at the Department of State, and long before that, at the White House. $200,000 a pop for sleeping in the Lincoln bedroom, and if you decided to stay there for free, you'd have to sleep with her.
So whore number one, that's the first page of Larry Klayman's whore.
Yeah, she lives in
bus.
Kalorama, and she lives right next to Obama's house. So I'd say that's the second place. It's just kind of a skip and a jump to his house. And of course, he built walls around his house for protection. It's like a moat there.
Somebody who's now worth at least almost $200 million that came into Washington, probably worth $500,000.
Probably not even that much.
Yeah.
His house he bought for about $8 million there. So I would start there and, work my way in and around Washington, D.C. I used to live at Hillendale.
Well, you're not on the.
I lived in Hillendale.
You're the tour bus driver.
No, I am, but
no, he's not behind the wheel.
Living next to me at Hillendale.
Yes.
Okay, was Robert Mueller, believe it or not. Okay, so I would go visit Robert if he's still there. I don't know if he's there. Rumor has it that he's a little bit sauced every day at around 2 or 3 afternoons. So maybe you could find a nearby bar and find him there.
But I will give you a plug on this one and say your client was the only client that didn't get indicted by Robert Mueller, which is Jerome Corsi. So that should be part of.
I actually had another nameless client who wasn't indicted.
So you've had one client and one nameless client. That's important for the facts of the whore tour bus tour. Go on. Next stop.
Well, I think you had a good suggestion. We were talking about this before. Maybe we go to Fort Marcy Park, where Vince Foster.
That was
died.
Actually,
Yeah, okay, that's Lewis. I'm going to give you credit for that. You are a great eulogist, so you can do a eulogy for Vince Foster. But whether he killed himself or whether he was killed, there was a reason why he died.
Because of the bullet.
And that relates back to Miss Hillary. He was in love with Hillary, and Hillary may have been, that may have been her last male lover, Vince Foster. And we know that because I took depositions and, I had whistleblowers and things like that.
So the last man Hillary Clinton had sex with was murdered or committed suicide.
Either one.
Vince Foster is the last man she had.
But you know what's great about
sex with.
You know what's great about that? If you did sleep with Hillary, you'd kill yourself. And if you did sleep with Hillary, there's a chance you could be killed. So
but in the end, you're going
dead.
to die.
You're going to die. So either way, your theory works out perfect.
Yeah. So I would go there.
Okay.
Then I would go where Gary Hart was outed. Maybe.
And let's explain to people, because a lot of people sadly don't remember who Gary Hart was. Gary Hart was, I want to say he was Trump-like in some ways.
No.
Just
he was charismatic.
He was extremely
well. Nixon said he needed a heart.
He was charismatic. He was relatively good looking.
He called out the media.
He was a senator from Colorado, and he ran at a time that people thought he had a good chance of winning.
But he also called out the media, and I remember this. I was very young.
He dared them to catch him.
He dared them to catch him, right?
But he had a reputation as a ladies' man.
Right.
He was also a so-called Atari Democrat. I believe it was, of all people, Sidney Blumenthal, writing in the New Republic. He described him as such, a predecessor to what became the New Democrats, or the New Democrat, as personified by Bill Clinton. But there is a relationship between the two, because Hart was McGovern's campaign manager in '72, and he wasn't his campaign manager. He managed Texas, I believe. Hart and Clinton. Bill Clinton was down in Austin with Taylor Branch of all people.
So let's get to Gary Hart. But I remember
he was senator from Colorado.
It was '88. It was the '88 election. I remember this. I was probably 12 years old.
He was the front runner.
He was outed on Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
Okay. with having an affair with a woman.
Donna Rice.
Donna Rice. She changed her name to Hughes. She's a very nice woman.
I think that's because she got married.
She came to Christ. She repented. I actually know her. Okay, she's a nice person. But and then there was Wilbur Mills, who was a powerful senator or congressman who got caught with Fannie Fox in the reflecting pool.
Where is this? Okay, just so
Jefferson
people listening,
Memorial.
we're on the bus. You're giving the tour. I want to know exactly. So this happened at the Jefferson Memorial.
Well,
The reflecting pool, tidal basin.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. And then my very good friend, who you remind me of a little bit, and you're my very good friend, Paul Rodriguez.
And not the Latino comedian.
Oh, okay. From DC Cab, because we can include
Paul
that.
was actually half Afghani.
Yeah.
May his soul rest in peace. It was tragic. He died. He was my age.
Who? Paul?
Paul died.
Please don't tell me I remind you of people that have died.
All the people you admire are dead. Do you know that? I mean, with the exception
Well, it's not
Judy
that I
and myself.
admire them. It's just that they're harmless at this point. But not Paul.
Okay.
Okay. Paul was a brilliant guy, and he was a DC cop. And some senator's kid mouthed off to him one day, and he had a cast on his arm, and he just went like that and broke the guy's teeth. So that was it for his career as a cop. But he became a brilliant editor of Insight magazine, which was owned by the Washington Times.
Which is located
which was owned by the Unification Church.
It used to be owned by Reverend Moon.
Right.
Yes, it's not owned anymore by
Is the Washington
Reverend
Times
Moon.
the one that's closed down in '82, or was that the Washington Sun?
That was the Washington Sun.
Washington Star, my
Yeah,
bad.
that was Washington Sun.
Yeah.
Anyway, what Paul did is that he uncovered in effect, a male prostitution ring that Congressman Barney Frank was participating in. Okay.
What year?
On
Just
Capitol
for
Hill.
perspective, what year is this?
We're going back probably about 20 years.
Okay.
And what Paul told me is that he confronted Barney over that, and Barney literally got down on his knees and begged that he wouldn't publish the story. And Paul uncovered a lot of stuff. He made enemies.
But he didn't report the story.
He did report it.
Oh, he did.
Oh yeah. Barney was, doing his thing. And
let's go back to Barney Frank,
but that's on Capitol Hill
Congress
too.
at the time, on his knees.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get too graphic.
I understand.
And where was this in Washington?
In Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill.
Okay,
yeah.
so we've driven along. We're driving. We've passed the park.
Yeah. Then you want to go with Gingrich. Now, I don't remember whether he did this in Georgia or Washington, but
Doesn't matter.
Newt Gingrich reportedly, when his first wife was on her deathbed,
She had cancer. She was undergoing cancer.
revealed that he was going to divorce her and had a girlfriend. Classy guy.
And whereabouts was this?
That was in Georgia.
Either it was in Georgia or it was in Washington, D.C. I'm not sure. But anyway, we can go on and on and on.
No, but I do, because that's the point of the tour. When you're on a tour bus, you're not every stop is going to be somebody famous. You're going to have a lot of non-famous
Let's
people.
stop at the P.F. Chang's in Bethesda, Maryland.
Okay, P.F. Chang's in
No,
Bethesda.
I don't know. Just a place like that.
I want to stop at the. I want to stop at the Starbucks.
Where
Lewis was blue.
Well, yeah, that's the thing, too. I used to live very close to a Starbucks on Wisconsin Avenue, where perhaps not coincidentally, some interns that worked in the Clinton White House, we know about interns, Monica Lewinsky, were executed. They were working as well at Starbucks. They were shot in the head. They found their bodies there. And so that's a place to go. I used to see Donna Shalala there all the time, who's a real vile human being, frankly.
Yeah.
She's out there making effort.
But not a whore.
I don't know what she is.
But no, what were you going to say?
She's a vile human. Well, we know she's a vile human being. But
No, I mean, she's out there whoring it up right now with regard to Trump, claiming he's responsible for the coronavirus.
Yeah, but let's get back to what were you going to say about Starbucks? Is this I've never heard this story, but you've heard this story
about the Starbucks where
the interns.
they kill the employees?
Yeah.
I haven't heard this one.
Yeah, that was during the Lewinsky years, and they perished.
I didn't even know there was Starbucks back then, to be honest with you. But
No,
there was a
it's been
Starbucks.
around for quite some time.
So go on. Let's continue with the
turnover
tour.
at this one is unbelievable.
Well, and if you're getting into other stuff, then there was the owner of the Washington Redskins, Jack Kent Cooke, whose wife was from Bolivia, and she was cheating on him. And she was carrying on one day at Cafe Milano in Georgetown, had a little too much to drink, and wound up riding on someone's hood, holding on to the hood ornament. Jack didn't care for that very much. He was a multimillionaire. basically had her deported back to Bolivia.
I love your humor and the misery of Jack Kent Cooke.
Yeah, then there were a couple Italian diplomats. I used to be an international lawyer. Georgetown's the scene of many of these picadillos, so to speak. And the two Italian diplomats, Italians love all women, basically. I remember I married an Italian. My first wife was Italian, and she bought me a book, How to Be Italian. And it basically said, you can be like Frank Sinatra, or you can, do other things. But if you're Italian, you like all women. But anyway, these Italian diplomats, came onto this woman in Georgetown.
Case in point, please, just for a moment. I'm sorry, I don't mean Johnny Versace.
Came onto this woman in Georgetown, and she rejected both of them. So they tried to run her over on the sidewalk. They were offended. I guess they were quite.
Here's
drunk.
what I want. I want people that have drowned, that have been allegedly thrown off bridges. The Key Bridge. Take us on the Key Bridge.
I don't know of anything specifically on the Key Bridge. There's a crude joke about the Key Bridge.
You don't have to share the crude joke. Okay, go on. Lewis,
or the cliffs near Georgetown.
The cliffs near Georgetown. Has anybody been thrown off the cliffs near Georgetown?
No, but actually, this is good. In Georgetown, you have the Exorcist house.
That's right, the stairs.
Yeah, and that's a true story of the Exorcist. Maybe it was embellished a bit for the movie, but
doubt it.
Where,
I think they under.
Right.
You have the stairs. It's right there at an Esso station, a gas station. They may have changed the ownership at this point, and it's quite famous, And they have the window where, the girl jumps out,
Yes.
From the devil.
Yes. Was this filmed in Washington?
The documentary?
It was filmed in Washington.
They filmed that part.
Yeah, The Exorcist. Yeah, it's there.
We're on the Georgetown campus, alma mater of Bill Clinton. Take us back to when Bill Clinton was a student at Georgetown.
We're backing up the bus right now.
We're going.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that much about that, but I do know this: is that Georgetown, regrettably,
it's a Jesuit school.
It's Jesuit, but it's way out. I would never let any of my kids go to Georgetown.
Yeah.
I mean, here you have a Catholic institution that invites Larry Flint to give speeches. The pornographer.
Yes, I'm aware.
Right now
I love how he. I just want to say something. I love how Larry decides when to be discreet or not use certain language, and he's like Larry Flint, the pornographer.
Bibi Netanyahu, the
I
Jew.
didn't say this. I didn't say the sleazeball.
Yeah,
which
right.
he is.
I know, but it was just so you tightened it up, Larry.
But I had a personal experience, and you can read about it in my book Horrors, because it was a tragic experience with my grandmother, who fell out of bed. My mother had the onset of dementia. She later died of Alzheimer's. May her soul rest in peace. And my grandmother wound up in Georgetown Hospital. And my stepfather was instrumental in putting a do not resuscitate order on her charts. Yeah. And I had to bring a lawsuit to try to get it off. And then Clinton got a hold of that. Larry Klayman, the guy that sues his mother.
Everybody got a hold of that.
Yeah. But the way my grandmother was treated at Georgetown Hospital was hardly Catholic. And they had a big picture of the Pope in the lobby. So, I was quite angry one day. And I said, you ought to take the picture of the Pope down, because he actually believes in life and you guys don't.
And
Georgetown is a disgraceful school, in my opinion.
And this is the sad part of
They're a bunch of whores.
Larry Klayman Whore Tour bus part. And
right.
I am very sorry. And
Can I tell you, we made incredible time from Georgia to D.C.
Yeah.
And I am very happy that you shared that story, because not happy that you shared that story in the sense that a lot, because how that is portrayed in the media, how that was portrayed by Clinton, you suing, what you become known, famous for in some ways.
I tried not to.
Your own.
I tried not to. I had a power of attorney. My grandmother signed it so I could take actions, but a judge nullified the power of attorney and said my mother was next of kin, and she wasn't mentally there, but I had to bring a case and name her to be able to get my grandmother's do not resuscitate order off her chart, and also the fact that my stepfather had stolen all of her money, which was a whopping $80,000. So she didn't have any money to pay for her health care. Okay. So that was the story there, but the Clintons used that to smear me. It was James Carville who said Larry Klayman, the guy who sued his own mother. So I became known for that.
Speaking of lawsuits, we're going to take a small commercial break, and this commercial break is sponsored by Freedom Watch, and it's freedomwatch.org. And during this corona spread, Larry is looking for anybody that has been on the Carnival cruise ships, right?
And you plan on suing the government of China, if I'm not mistaken.
I personally believe, and we'll have a whole show
No,
on this.
we're not discussing that. This is an ad for, just like people looking for people that have suffered from asbestos.
Freedom Watch is available to represent victims, okay?
Yes.
And I believe that, although I like the Chinese people, the government of China, I believe, was negligent. I'll be brief.
Yeah.
And I believe this was a bioweapon that got loose in Mujan, okay?
And that advertisement was sponsored by freedomwatch.org. We are filming this show tonight. We've actually moved
from Taiwan,
from Bahrain to Taiwan, and you can
now post to freedom in a sea of tyranny.
Well, there is good news.
Yes.
I hate to be morose, and I hate to sound cruel, but the vice president of Iran apparently got the coronavirus. So at least there's some good that comes out of it.
Yes,
We're still on the bus.
We're still
not
on
the
bus.
ship.
I agree. Lewis, good job. Let's get back on the bus. It's the Larry Klayman Whore Tour bus.
We've left Georgetown Hospital.
We've left Georgetown Hospital where horrible stuff happened. But you have some. You were in
Take us through
Washington.
the neighborhood.
Take us to.
I want to go inside one of the Georgetown cocktail parties. We park the bus outside a house, a row house, and you say, in there was the biggest collection of whores during the 1970s.
Well, actually, I don't frequent whores, but there is an interesting story.
You don't frequent
the
what?
first time I don't frequent whores. I've never gone to a whore.
No, we're not talking about actual ones, Larry. We're talking
revealing
about.
the whorehouses.
I know, but here's what let me talk about actual ones.
Aren't there some restaurants or bars where every congressperson hangs out in afterwards? Isn't there
Listen, whores are everywhere in Washington, D.C., okay? I mean, the female whores, the male whores, the sexual whores, they're everywhere.
Yes.
Okay, every place you'll find them, okay?
Yes.
But, yes, in terms of the political whores, okay, you've got, I'm trying to remember the name of the restaurant.
Don't. Where are we in the city? Are we still in Georgetown?
Well, no, the political whores hang out on Capitol.
But what about the cocktail parties in Georgetown? That's what I was asking.
Yeah, I was not a cocktail goer.
Okay.
But
So we're leaving Georgetown now.
Okay, so
Goodbye,
we're leaving Georgetown. You guys have much better.
We're in Foggy Bottom.
I used to live in Foggy Bottom.
Perfect. We're at GW, the State Department. There's got to be a bunch of whores there.
Well, Prime Rib Restaurant had a lot of whores at the bar. Yeah, I mean, so I heard. But let me just tell you this story.
Yes,
okay?
please do.
Because during the Clinton years, okay, when the women were coming out of the woodwork that he had harassed or had affairs with, and I represented nearly all of them except for one woman who escaped for Paris, former, I think, runner-up to Miss America. I went on Geraldo's show. He was on CNBC at the time. Now, Geraldo was very pro-Clinton.
Yes.
And so I went on the show. This is kind of a segue, actually, and it's in my book. I appeared the first time, and the first thing Geraldo says to me is that, Larry, I understand that you sued your own mother. And I said, well, Geraldo, I think that you probably don't want to get into that issue because you have a daytime show and you have a lot of elderly people watching that, elderly women, and what I did was to protect my grandmother. So you really don't want to get into that, do you? You're trashing me for that? And he turns to his producer, he says, I like this guy. I pushed back, right? I was on another show when it was rumored.
He probably respected you, by the way, because I would imagine most people that come back at Geraldo would probably just go to Al Capone's tomb.
You know what?
His vaults.
His vaults. Which me as a kid stayed up.
Geraldo is much maligned, but I got to tell you something. Of all the hosts that I was ever on during that time period, I thought Geraldo was the most honest intellectually.
Yeah. So let's get back to Geraldo. Go for it.
Okay, so I'm on another time. And he says to me, Klayman, I hear that you've sent out a private investigator to a whorehouse on Connecticut Avenue to see if President Clinton frequents it. So I said to him, Geraldo, how do you know where the whorehouse is? And he kind of pulled back. So we used to joust like that.
Yeah.
You see?
The good old days. So we're back on the bus. And what Lewis is more asking is
location.
Location. And you've sued so many people. You sued George Stephanopoulos For what? For his driving permit? For his what did you sue Stephanopoulos for?
I don't remember whether I actually sued him, but he was a witness in the Filegate case. When
where was
when
Filegate?
Hillary got 900 files of her adversaries?
The White House. But we're not there yet.
Stephanopoulos, who's the nastiest person I've ever dealt with, lowest class person I've dealt with in Washington,
Literally and
which says a lot.
Literally and figuratively.
No, he is.
Height joke.
Right. And he comes into a deposition with a beard and a crumpled hat. He insults the judge, Royce Lamberth, for bringing him there. He made a statement that it was the Ellen Romish strategy that I was pursuing. That's Ellen Romish was an East German spy that John F. Kennedy had an affair with, and J. Edgar Hoover had files on it and used it to blackmail Kennedy. Right? So Stephanopoulos,
very popular viewpoint, by the way, among
proceeds
academics.
to lie. He proceeds to lie. And I then file a motion with Judge Lamberth, and Lamberth made a finding that he lied under oath. And at that time...
That he perjured himself.
Yeah. And at that time, Stephanopoulos was just starting as a host on ABC...
This week.
With...
David Brinkley.
No, it wasn't Brinkley. It
George
was Sam
Will,
Donaldson.
George
So
Will,
Sam
Cookie
Donaldson calls me
Roberts.
up in a panic.
Yeah.
That a judge just ruled that George Stephanopoulos lied under oath. I said, I'm sorry to tell you, Sam, but he did, But, of course, we know that Stephanopoulos has gone on to great things, quote, unquote, right? Now, one other interesting thing. My ex-wife saw Stephanopoulos
Which
walking,
one? The Italian?
Number one. Numero
Okay, the
uno.
Italian.
The one who made you read the book.
No, number two.
How to be
See,
Italian.
that's a good question. He even got confused. The tour of, your whore tour has been.
My first wife was a nice person.
What year did you get to Washington? Just so.
1979.
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
I was there before as an intern.
This isn't a democratic debate. You don't have to raise your hand.
And sitting outside the White House, waiting to meet with President Jefferson, are Lewis and Clark and Larry Klayman. Because Larry's the other guy who's going to bid on mapping what will be the Louisiana Territory. And based on this map you've created,
well, I sound like some old fogey.
No, you don't at all. By the way,
You would either come back to Jefferson and say, "We have the world."
Yeah, you don't.
America is the world.
My very first
or
client,
it's only 6 acres.
when I started my law firm, was engineer Alberto Giacomini in San Maurizio de Palio, Italy. Had a beautiful factory, made fire protection products.
You don't sound old, by the way. Just so you know, your tour is just not linear.
And he and his father were bootleggers during World War II. And he used to take me to lunch every day in his Alfa Romeo, go up a big mountain, beautiful part of Italy. And he would get drunk at lunch, and then he would drive down. But during lunch, I had to listen to him. It was my second client, and it was a really good client, financially, until he tried to stiff me. And
let me guess, he got sued.
Senator,
right.
you can have my offer now.
No, this is an interesting
Nothing.
story. It may be in my book. I think it is too. So every day at lunch, he would start off the conversation, dopo la guerra, after the war. And I have to listen to this over and over and over again. And, it was a Commerce Department anti-dumping and countervailing duty investigation. So the Commerce people have to come over and look through the books. For an Italian, to let anybody look through their books is a frightening experience. So the investigators come over, 2 women, and they say, "Thank you, Engineer Giacomini, for letting us, do our verification, go through the books." So he takes me to the side, and he says, "Klayman," and my Italian wasn't as good then as it later became, but I understood what he was saying. He spoke no English.
Yeah.
He had an assistant, Danila, who...
Okay, Larry, I got to tell you, the people on the bus on the tour.
Can we say a prayer for the 2 that left
No,
to their
but I'm
deaths
getting to
when
it.
we were making that turn?
I'm getting to it.
Because I don't want us to be sued.
I'm getting to it.
Yes, please.
So he took me aside and he said, "Did you invite them here?" He says, "Are you my lawyer or are you the lawyer of the devil?" So we went on a little walk that day in the Alps, and he says, "Larry, look down." He says, "If you don't win this case, that's where you're going to be."
Wait. We were in D.C. and now we're in the Alps.
Well, here's the thing.
Again, about this map.
Here's the thing.
Your cartography
When he came to the United States,
just... President Jefferson, I could do this job for nothing.
When he came to the United States
Thank
for a
you
hearing,
catching that.
My first wife, an Italian from Rome.
Yeah, we
the one who made you read the book.
It was in Italy, and
How to be
as he
Italian.
got off the plane at the airport, he says to her, "Where are you from?" And she says, "I'm from Rome, but my dad's family's from Serra, which is in the south near Naples. I'm a Southern Italian." And he looks at her and he says, "Yeah, it looks it." Because, there's that
Yeah, no, I know.
that superiority of Northern Italians towards Southern Italians.
Dennis Hopper did a whole bit about this in a movie.
Yeah.
So okay, let's get back to Washington, D.C. for the tour. Larry, the people
We were
on the tour
outside
bus,
the State
they're
Department.
They're getting dizzy with going around the world. Okay, what about Old Ebbitt's Grill?
Well, that's where I first met Roger Stone.
There
We're making progress.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Roger.
Can you imagine that we did this whole horror tour?
First of all, we're going to lose so much money on gas.
Yeah.
Roger was with Black Manafort and Stone. He was
Yeah.
a partner with Manafort. They, were lobbyists. They would get presidents elected. Then they call the chits in and make millions of dollars. And Roger drives up with a chauffeur
To Old Ebbitt's Grill.
in a Mercedes 350 convertible with an ascot, the whole thing. And that's when I met Roger Stone. And, I'd asked him, I said, I want to help Jack Kemp. I really love Jack Kemp. We talked about that in another show. And that's how I got on the executive finance committee with.
Okay, so I want to know what your first, because Lewis and I have never.
We're on segues now. We're not. I mean, no, the actual segues, not a figure of speech, because we're going to lose a fortune on gas on this bus. We're all on segues. We stop. We're outside a restaurant. Tell us
what's
what
the
happened.
conversation. I want to know.
This place is filled with whores.
I agree with him because I want to know what your first conversation with Roger Stone was, or like.
Well, my first conversation was, we're both basically the same age. He's a year younger than I am. He's 67, I'm 68.
And what year about ballpark?
We're going back to 1987, I think.
Okay.
Because Kemp ran for
Yeah,
nomination.
in 1988. Yeah, and so I said, I really want to help Jack Kemp because I'm an international trade lawyer. I know Jack believes in free trade, and I really like Jack. And he's bringing minorities into the Republican Party, being of Jewish origin.
You're bi-religious. Go on.
Yes, not bisexual, but bi-religious.
Yes.
And although it'd be more chic if I was bisexual.
Okay, so for the sake of the bus tour, you're both. Go on.
No, the segues.
The segues.
But
Hovercraft.
I really wanted to help Jack Kemp. He brought Jews in, he brought Catholics in. The Republican Party was very waspy, when I first worked for Senator Dick Schweiker in 1973. So,
God, I would have loved to seen the campaign posters, like, if your name is Dick, if you were running today. But
Well, there used to be a congressman, Dick Sweat, from New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Remember Dick Sweat?
There really was.
No,
because
there was a Dick Sweat.
it rings a bell. I don't really remember.
Anyway, so let's get back to Roger Stone, Ebbitt's Grill. Who else?
So Roger was there, and we met.
But who else?
It was cordial.
What other people? Was it a happening place? The Ebbitt's Grill. I've never been to the Ebbitt's Grill.
The old Ebbitt Grill is right across from the Treasury Department, which is right next to the White House. So a lot of people from the White House, Treasury Department, Commerce Department, they eat lunch there.
Okay, we stop the segues.
Or dinner.
We're outside the IRS building.
Oh,
Go.
Good place.
Go.
I didn't really have much experience with the IRS. Okay, so I don't have anything to tell you. I'm sorry to tell you that.
I'm actually shocked that the IRS has never come. Not that we
But
want them
I
to
can
come
tell you about
after.
the Commerce Department, which
Okay.
is right next to the IRS.
Okay, so we move just like half.
So when I was an international trade lawyer, and this is actually what gave rise to Judicial Watch ultimately, is that I represented interests that were not as powerful as the domestic industry. I represented U.S. importers and foreign exporters. I believe in free trade. So I was fighting against
When it was free.
against tariffs. I was fighting against quotas, that kind of thing. It was a different time.
Yeah.
Okay. And I remember that I had a meeting. This was my second wife. She was there. And, the cocky little Commerce Department investigator told me that he didn't care about the law and that he was going to make his finding however he wished. And I said to him, you better knock the chip off your shoulder or I'll knock it off for you. And, of course, they called some guards and had me escorted out of the Commerce Department.
Okay, so you were at least.
So this was the wife that made you read the book on negotiating.
No, I'm not sure that wife read it all, actually.
Okay, so
that's wife number 2. Wife number 1 was the
one,
Italian.
one was illiterate and one was Italian. And the two have nothing to do with each
and
other. And
this
by
is-
the way, I love all races, creeds, religions.
Yeah, both of us do.
Like
It
the
don't,
Sinatra
it
song,
don't matter.
"That's America
It don't matter
to
whether you're
me."
black or white.
That's one of your
Right.
that's one of he's one of your 4 favorite black people.
Who happens to be dead.
Is my
He died as a white man.
I have lots of favorite black
yeah.
people.
Living. And
I have a black niece.
Oh, that's true. Good
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
We can't bring up her name though.
No.
Not because
She doesn't know she's black, but she's black.
Oh, okay.
Okay, this show is getting off the rails a little bit because the bus is on a shaky.
The
reel.
bus. We parked the bus.
Our
The
segues. Our
they have a good
segues are.
She's a great person. She's beautiful, and she is half white and half black.
Okay,
So if you take a circle and you overlap it with a triangle, with a rectangle, and a trapezoid, this is the map of DC by Larry Klayman, because I have no idea where we are right now.
Okay, so where was you must have, but you're a brawler. I mean, you're a brawler in court. I want to know what place you had your worst fight.
Take us to a federal court in DC.
Your worst fight.
Take us to lockup in DC, where they took your belt,
Well,
your shoelaces.
I've had so many fights that I can't remember where.
But did you ever end up in jail overnight?
No, but yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Wait, this is yes or no?
Again, no. I actually did spend at least 45 minutes in a cell at Dulles Airport. Let me tell you the story.
Oh, we talked about this one about the whole
the cats.
Yeah,
yeah. You made a joke
and
about
the
blowing
chapter
up the
is
airport.
the chapter in my book is Revenge of the Felines.
Yeah.
Okay, because when I was going to Florida to declare for the Senate, my second wife had cat mailed me, and she told me that if I didn't take the two the two cats,
I've never heard
we
that
could have
term.
made so much money with these tours.
Yeah.
Okay, she told me if I didn't take the two cats,
Yes.
we were getting divorced. I think we'd been divorced. That she was going to give them to the pound.
And so you took the cats through security.
So
and
I took the cats, and the guy started petting the cats, and I was late for the plane, and I made a joke. It wasn't long after 9/11. It was 2003 in the fall. I said, the cat isn't a terrorist. The cat doesn't have a bomb. And I got slammed up against the wall by a Virginia cop.
Okay, so we're at the airport. Let's work our way back.
And I was arrested, and I was let go. Ultimately, I explained what happened to the FBI agent that came along later. And it was Roger Stone who leaked that to the media to try to harm me after I ended my relationship with him.
We're in Virginia, which
All
is for
comes
lovers.
back
We're going
to
back to
Stone.
DC.
Let's get to the
Let's
Watergate
go to
Hotel.
Before we even get to Watergate, let's go to because you love black people. Let's go to Anacostia.
I never hung out in Anacostia. But here's another one.
What is
I got another
Anacostia?
one.
Just so you know, a lot of people don't know.
I had a
Where
secretary.
a lot of people of color live.
I had a secretary named Gabby. She was a very good secretary.
I saw this episode.
After I hired her, I found out she was a pole dancer in her earlier life. Okay, but she was an excellent secretary. She had been Marion Barry, the mayor's girlfriend.
Did you ever have? Did you? So let's get to Marion Barry.
One day I took the staff over to the restaurant next to where my office was in Southwest. It's where Judicial Watch was later. And, I'm a pretty good dancer. The Temptations are my favorite group of all time.
So you got on the pole?
No, I started dancing with her.
Oh.
So, and all the black people, they couldn't believe a white guy could dance like that, So that's a famous place in Washington, D.C.
Okay, and let's get back to, Larry, the images that you put in Lewis in my head are, I don't know if we could ever get rid of them.
I thought it was a sequel to The Jerk.
Yeah, because I honestly thought he was ending up on the pole.
No, I thought it was Steve Martin talking.
Wait.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, down, I think it was I Street. Okay, when I was with the Justice Department, I was in the Antitrust Division. I helped break up AT&T. I represent a bunch of places. I went with some of my Justice Department people at lunch. They took me there to a place where there was pole dancing, and who owned the establishment?
Barney Frank.
The Clintons.
FBI agents owned it. Yeah. So I don't know if Gabby danced there or wherever, but I didn't know when I hired her she was a pole dancer. I found out later, and then I found out that one of my Italian clients, was going out with her.
Oh, this is great. We haven't even gotten to Watergate.
And I didn't know it.
And I got to tell you, I've been to Watergate, and I've stayed there, and I noticed in Watergate there were a lot of confirmed bachelors. Any interesting stories off the record you could tell us about the Unconfirmed. You see, because most people, I mean,
Off the record.
Off the record. But
We're only going to make this public, but it's
but-
off the
but
record.
Well, here's another thing. Across from Watergate is the Saudi embassy.
yes.
Okay. Prince Bandar was the ambassador at the time. He was a tennis partner of H.W. Bush. And I had a security guard named Darrell, okay, who before he started to be security for me was Prince Bandar's security guard. He was there, he told me, when Louis Freeh, FBI director, went over to the Saudi embassy. It was selling his services for when he was going to leave the FBI. Can you believe that an FBI director would be asking the Saudi government for a contract while he was FBI director?
Guy sounds like a whore.
Yeah, there's a whore. Okay,
Ben,
so
who
that's
also was
at the Saudi embassy right
was
across
also
from Watergate.
he wasn't the FBI director, was he?
He was
Yes, he was.
under Clinton. He was the FBI director.
Oh, so I'm thinking of House. Who was the one that they always accuse of the flight that crashed over in New York of lying? Hallstrom? Was that?
You're talking about the TWA flight?
Yeah, the TWA flight. That was who was the assistant director of the FBI? James Hallstrom, wasn't it, or something
I'm
to that
not
effect?
sure.
Anyway, so go on. So we're at the Watergate. Give us some Watergate. You have nothing.
Or the Howard Johnsons that used to be across
Well,
the
I
street.
used to live. I nearly lived everywhere in Washington. I lived across. I lived on 25th Street for a while, right near the Watergate.
And what happened? Who'd you meet? Give us some gossip.
Who were the
Give us some
whores?
dirt.
Well, when I first moved to Washington, I used to go to the clam fry at Howard Johnson's across the street from the Watergate, and that's where the Watergate burglars had their little headquarters. Okay, so that's close to the Watergate.
See, I feel like you've cheated Lewis and I and the listeners out of the real horror tour.
And the passengers who had to take cabs because the bus broke down, the segways lost power.
Because when we're in personal discussions, sometimes you share different other stories. You've written about them in your daily life. You write about all these people, and I feel like we're being a little cheated on the Washington. Maybe we have to make it the international.
I'm not sure because I said to Larry,
No, I gave you a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Look, I was at the White House Correspondents' Dinner after party at the Russian Embassy one time, and I was leaving. It's the first time I ever went to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. I was invited by Paul Rodriguez, as a matter of fact.
Again, not the comedian.
And as I was leaving, I had to go to the bathroom. There was a porta potty, and I opened it up, and there's some woman, with a split eagle right there. It was kind of embarrassing, particularly for her. Okay, so
Was it Hillary Clinton?
that's in my book.
That would be great if it was Hillary Clinton.
I didn't get a good glimpse because I was so shocked. I tried to avoid looking. Okay.
And I respect that. Go on, Lewis.
no, what I'm surprised at though is that we parked that bus outside, say the Department of Education. And we said, Larry, and he said, nothing happened here. We stop, but then we stop at the
Nothing
the
happened
IRS.
with me. Okay.
Right, but I understand that, but we want to know about the whores. Give us we're at Boston Market. Boston Market.
Because
We
no,
hit the
I
brakes.
think what he's trying to say is you within your stories there are other stories, right? So like Vince Foster was with Clintons. The people you sued from China via the Clintons. You've sued James Carville. You've sued all these different people.
Like I want to know about the antique bookstore where you walk in and you say there's a password and there's a secret passageway and you walk down into the bowels of this building and that's where they're raping goats. That's what I want to know about. And you're privy to that intelligence.
You actually really are. So you know what? We're going to cut this episode in a second.
All right, well, let me tell you this.
No. We're running out of time.
Janet Reno.
Okay, you know what? We're saving that for the next episode because on the next episode, Larry, when we're filming from Ethiopia, if it is
Black
not
Hawk
more,
Down. There's another Black
Can I tell this one
No,
story?
you can't.
No,
you we're
absolutely not.
saving it for the next show because if you do not for the next show, tell us the real stories within the stories,
And we're going to bring a map of the district.
of the district with the horror tours. We're canceling this line.
I got to tell you this one story.
You know what? We
No,
don't
we
have
get-
time.
tomorrow.
All right.
We don't have time. Our producer, who we can't name, because she needs to live, has said we're out of time. But I want to thank everybody for listening to the edited version of Larry Klayman's Horror Tour. And we promise, Lewis, we promise that next episode we will continue with the unedited version.
Yes, where Larry also draws the Mason-Dixon line.
Okay, and
We'll have to work it in.
As a
and
diagonal.
we're not going to work it in. It's going to be a full episode because I want to hear about Janet Reno because that's important because a lot of people out there don't know about Janet Reno.
She was Attorney General under Clinton.
I know.
and-
Save it.
Save it, and also obviously there's a lot of other stuff that happened under that you could get into because I want you to realize the horror tour starts in Washington, but the stories can take us out of state. Okay, so that's what we missed a little bit on this episode. We'll get it back on the next episode of you sued Janet Reno. We know. So the horror tour, that part of the horror tour started in Washington, and in the next episode we're going to discuss where that ended. So I want to
I'll just give a little sneak peek.
No. But
No sneak
we
preview?
leave it with you in
Larry,
the snow,
I mean-
left for dead in the Alps. And tomorrow, or whenever we do this show,
Yeah, and from everywhere.
from Ottawa, Canada,
Yeah, and Larry,
we're going to pick that up.
And we got to tease a little bit because you did two edited for Lewis and I, and we're not, Lewis and I are fans.
Well,
of,
I'm a lawyer. I'm not actually I want to be a comedian.
You're a provocateur, Larry. Okay.
I've done stand-up comedy.
Can I say something? Because the judicial system was cheated.
Yeah.
If you had represented Harvey Weinstein, the man would have gone away forever. and an injustice has been done.
Let me tell you, I have a friend whose name is dog Harvey Weinstein. So when he walks him down the street, people say, "What's the name of your dog?" Harvey Weinstein. You see the reaction.
The people were cheated, and I want them to
You know
know
why
that.
they named him Harvey Weinstein? Because he humps everybody that he can find.
And I hear
And what a way to end it, Larry. You couldn't let me end it on the tease.
No, let's leave him in that crevasse in the Alps.
I love it because he's got that little smirk going. So I know the next unedited version of not virgin of the Larry Klayman Horror Tour double-decker bus tour is going to be fun because that smirk better stay on, Larry. I don't care how many Diet Cokes you need to drink. I want to thank everybody for listening. I want to thank AM Greatness, and I want to beg everybody to go to Freedom Watch. All the smirking, all the seriousness aside, Larry Klayman defends those that can't afford defending, and you need to go to freedomwatch.org. Did I get it correctly? And
FreedomWatchUSA.org.
Right. The other is a porn site.
Right.
Is it?
No, we don't know.
Well, you know what? When I ran Judicial Watch, there was a porn
it
site.
redirects to horrors.com. Larry, next time.
We've digressed. I want to thank you, Larry. You are the best. No, smirk on.
Thank
for
you.
the next episode. Lewis, the great ombudsman, fine. I want to thank everybody for listening to Larry Klayman. For everyone, please go to Twitter. It's LK4. The number one. That's LK 4 1. And did I get that wrong?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. And I just want to thank God, my
May God.
I want to thank
save
everybody
us.
and. I don't even know if I clap right correctly. Like it's like and scene.
We're done.
I gotta go home to get some dinner.
Oh, you do?